some stretches in. Since I'm standing, I'm gonna go ahead and start standing. I'm gonna take my feet just outside my shoulders, not too wide, not super wide unless you're super flexible. That's up to you. I'm gonna stand up nice and tall. I'm gonna stretch up. Exhale, arms coming down, swan dive forward, hands on the ground. And then from this position, I'm just gonna allow my body to actually, my shoulders to drop. If I naturally just let them drop down, I'll get a better stretch. So remember, we gotta start relaxing our muscles so we can get that stretch in. Inhale, come up, and exhale, come down a little bit more, and literally let your body hang. So I want you guys to see this from the side. So literally let your body hang, and then if you lean back a little bit and curl your hips forward, you'll feel a little bit more stretch in that hamstring versus just being straight up and down. So lean back and then let your chest come towards your thighs. Did you see how my thighs were locked up? And then I relaxed them, and I can actually get in a little bit deeper. I'm gonna stay here for a second. Every time I inhale, I come up a little bit to make space for the air, and then as I exhale, I go deeper into that stretch. Now I feel the stretch, and it's, it doesn't feel great, but it doesn't hurt. There's no shooting pain, and that is what I'm looking for, no shooting pain. And then I'm also looking for to make sure that my body doesn't start locking up and pushing me out of that stretch. Then I know I've just gone too far, too fast. You can actually get into a pretty deep stretch if you take your time. And I like to push my hips back and forth just to feel where my body is. Maybe there's a tight tendon. I'm gonna stretch down, dropping my hips, and then coming back up. When I come back up, you'll feel that glute really stretch and expand, not just the hamstrings. So we're gonna drop down, pushing that butt back. And then as soon as you feel that release from the hamstrings and glute, we're gonna drive through the heels and push back and up. And you'll feel that right there on your sits bones. And again, down, pushing that booty back. Notice that my shoulders are staying in the same place over my toes. And then coming back, pushing. And after you've done this about 3, 4, 5 times, you can feel that the stretch and the glute over top of the sits bone, like right here, it gets less and less intense. That's good. That means that you're actually really stretching that glute properly. And relax. Ragdoll for a minute. Going side to side. Just letting your body dangle. All right. Whew, I love it. So this next movement, since we've really stretched out the glutes and the hamstrings, I'm gonna go ahead and get in that hip joint. It's not an amazingly feeling good stretch, so just know that. This next stretch, it's called the frog pose, and I know we're working on the frog, right? But what I want you to do is I want you to get down, feet together, and go wide as with that knee as possible, and like you're sitting on your feet. Now, I'm going to walk my hands forward and push my hips forward, and slowly let that hip sink down and open up. Now, I'm gonna be on top of my thighs here, nice and slow. I'm gonna bring my feet up, and when I get into position, what I want to be looking for is a flat hip on the floor, right? If I have my hips way up here, I'm not getting the right stretch. I mean, you can be there if you're not quite that flexible enough yet, but slowly let that hip open up and get flat on the floor. Now, as if this isn't a little challenging enough, because you should feel like you're your hip joint right inside here is like twisting out. That's normal, okay? That should be happening. I want you to put your feet together and then point your toes up. And then you increase that stretch. This is kind of like flossing your hip joint naturally. And you can just hang out here for a minute. Remember, keep your breath regulated. And with this, you just gotta kind of give it some time. This stretch really helps with deepening your squat with having a good upright spine position. It also opens up that hip a lot. So when we're aging and we're getting older, we still have higher levels of mobility, which means normally it's an indication that we are actually more capable of taking care of ourselves and less prone to injury. So that's all good stuff. Keep those toes pointing forward. I'm gonna push my hips down a little bit. This is such a great stretch for, like, especially if you're doing a lot of squats or hip movements, you know, with a strong hip activation. This is really good. And if you notice, like, I always kind of, you know, grab my body when I'm stretching or moving because I just want to feel what it feels. And sometimes, especially in like these static hold stretches, I like to get in there and like there might be a little pocket. Like I found this little pocket that I was like, oh man, that's tight. I can relax that. And so I'm gonna like literally PT myself, getting in that little pocket. And it already feels better. It feels less tight. So, you know, you really do need to love your body. And look, I was able to get a higher position because I was able to release the, did you guys see that? I felt it. All right, so in order to get out of this, you just slowly let your legs come down and then bring your feet together. Woo! All right, so now we're gonna keep our feet flat on the ground. I'm gonna push my toes and my flat foot into the ground. My hands are underneath my arms, my shoulders. And I'm gonna exhale, inhale, coming up, and I'm gonna you can levitate if you want, but I really wanna just kind of let that back stretch. So I'm gonna push through my palms, opening that chest more and more. So you see my shoulders, they're not in my neck. I'm gonna drive them through, opening that chest, taking a couple deep breaths, pushing my belly forward, and you can feel that compression in the lower back. And then I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna go a little wide with my knees. My hands are gonna be stretched out flat, palms are flat. I'm gonna let my hips sink down. And then I'm going to reach my fingertips out a little bit more. Inhale. And as I exhale, I'm gonna push my chest towards the ground even more. You should feel this nice stretch in the lats. Stretch that hand out a little bit more. Now we're gonna walk this over to either your left side or your right side to where you can still keep your hips planted, and you should feel that stretch big time right through here. And we're just really opening those ribs up and stretching out that spine. This is a really good one for pre-workout, and anytime you're doing, we're gonna walk our hands over to the other side. Anytime you're doing like a weighted squat, that will compress the spine. A couple breaths on this side. You can even I like to turn my shoulders up towards the ceiling a little bit to get a bigger stretch. Come back to center. Take one more breath there. All right, I want you to come into tabletop position. Pull your belly in. Palms are underneath the shoulders and pressing into the ground. Now from here we're going to go into cat-cow. So cat, pushing that spine up towards the sky, pushing down through your shoulders into your palms and squeezing that butt forward, trying to touch the ceiling with your mid-spine. And then cow, coming down slowly and then opening, rolling those hips. You see that? Rolling those hips down and opening that chest, pulling the shoulders back, looking up to the sky, trying to touch that belly button to the floor. And exhale into cat. Inhale into cow. This is a really good exercise to practice your cadence of your breathing with your movement. Once you've done that a few times, I want you to move freely. You can go into whatever you like, however you like. Just let your body talk to you. I really like this because I get to really twist and stretch my spine and find those little pockets that kind of get overlooked when we're doing the same stretch over and over. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed that sweat, that stretch, and your day.